This video explains how to complete the truth table worksheet for lesson 8. And in this particular document, what you're going to do is you're going to figure out what is the value of the Boolean expressions. And when we talk about Boolean expressions, we're talking about variables that are declared as Booleans. And a Boolean variable can be true or a Boolean variable can be false. So if I have the Boolean variable A, I want to list all the different possibilities for A. A can be true, A can be false. And when I double that by making a Boolean variable B, then I have A and B can both be true, or A can be true, B can be false. A can be false, B can be true, or both of them can be false. These are all the possible combinations of two different Boolean variables. And then we know how to deal with the Boolean expression. All right, and this Boolean expression says if A and B. All right, so when I have and means both have to be true. So if A is true and B is true, then that means that this obviously has to be true as well. All right, and then all the other expressions, because they contain false. All right, so A is true but B is false, so that makes it false. All right, then if I have the next one going down the page, all right, I have A is false. So if A is false, then I don't have to go any farther. I can just stop right there with false. And word is capitalizing the word false. It doesn't matter. All right, and then the last one finally, that one is false also, because if you have false and, you don't even have to check the second one. Now this one right here, I have A or B, and with the or expression, now what we're talking about is A or B can be true. So if either one of them are true, that makes the whole expression true. So if A is true, I can just type true. I don't need to go any further than that. All right. Then the next one, if I go A is true, I don't even need to look at B, because A is true. If either one is true, it makes the whole thing true. So A is false, but B is true, therefore it is true also. And then finally, only when both are false, then I have a false situation. All right, now I have a Boolean expression where I have A and B inside parentheses. So it evaluates A and B, just like it did up here, A and B, but it puts a not sign on the outside. So that means make it the opposite. So A and B on the first line, it's true and true, makes true, but it is not true, therefore it is false. All right, then the next one I have true and false. Well, true and false is false, but not false makes it true. So you can see that the not sign basically just makes it the opposite, right? So up here I had true, false, false, false. Here I have false, true, true, and then true. All right. The not sign can also be applied directly to one of the different Boolean variables. So what I'm saying here is make it not the value that is listed. So not true and not true. Well, not true and not true is false and false, therefore it is false. All right, the next one I have not true makes it false and, all right, and we know that if it is false and anything is false. All right, and then I have not false, that makes it true, but not true makes it false, and one false makes an and statement all false. All right, and then finally the last one I have not false is true and not false is true, therefore it is true. Now, sometimes the first time you look at this, it becomes very, you're confused by it, but just try to take it slow and see if you can work it out. So on this next one, before I write all the answers in, try to figure it out for yourself. All right, we have an A, we have an or, and we have a not B. All right, so the first thing I do is I look at this expression and I have to determine what am I checking. I'm checking to see if either side is true. All right, if either side is true, the whole expression will be true because it's an or expression. All right, so in this case, if A is true, I don't even need to look at B. So A is true on the first line, okay? A is true on the second line, all right? And now only when I get to the third line I have A is false. So false or, no, it's not true, so I have to look at the next one, not B. So in order for this to be true, all right, B, not B has to evaluate to true. Well, not true is false. So really I have false or false, and false or false is false. But finally I have false or not false. See the not sign there, so not B. And not false makes it true. And true or anything is true. Okay. All right, the next line is a little more difficult in that now we have a not sign on the inside the parentheses, and I have a not sign on the outside of the parentheses. All right. So I evaluate what's on the inside first, and then apply the opposite on the outside. So in this case, I have not a and. All right, and that and expression means both sides. Okay, so both sides of this equation on the inside have to be true. So not a means not true. All right, not true and, so false and anything is false on the inside. But once I'm on the inside, yeah, that evaluates this part of the expression. If I can highlight it, it won't let me. But if I say not A and B, if that figures out to be false, and it does, then on the outside I have this little not sign. That makes false, not false. The whole thing is true. All right, can be confusing. Let's try it on the next one. All right, once again I have not A. All right, so not A, so not true makes it false, and false and anything. So false and, doesn't matter what B is, it's false. All right, but the inside evaluates to false, and the outside has the not sign. So not false is true. Okay, all right, and then I look at the next one. I have not A, in this case not false. That makes it true. That's good. And B makes it true. So not false and true are the same thing. Therefore, they are true. Okay, because true and true, but it is not true, so that makes this false. All right, and then finally we have the last one, and the last one I have not false makes it true, but and B is false, so true and false evaluates to false. All right, but not false makes it true. Okay, hopefully you're kind of seeing it. That was a little more difficult, but just know you have to apply those not signs first, do what's in the parentheses, and then apply the outside not sign. All right, and the last one, we have a not. All right, and you know probably from your basic logic and algebra, you know that something, if you have a double negative, it's not this, the two cancel each other out. All right, so what I'm left with really is just the inside of the parentheses. I have not A or not B. So the opposite of A or the opposite of B. So I have true but not true makes it false. And I have B, which is true but not true, makes it false. So this expression evaluates to false or false, and false or false obviously has to be false. All right, now I have a situation where I have not A, well that's not true, that makes it false, or not B, so not false makes it true, and true or anything makes it true. All right, and then I have the next one, which is very similar. I have A, which is false, so not A makes it true, and true or anything is true. And then finally the last one I have false, so not false is true, and B, not false is true, and true or true is all true. Really didn't have to take it that far, but I did. And there the first column of the worksheet is done. Now, for the second column, I'm going to leave this for you to do. In the second column, you have a third variable, but it works the same. All right, just remember you have an and expression, A and B and C. All right, and with three variables, when you have ands, all of them have to be true in order for it to be true. If any one of them are false, the whole thing is false. And so really the only one that could possibly be true is A, B, and C true. All the rest of them should be false. All right. in the next one down the list, you have a combination of ors and ands. Now, this is where you have to know the order of operations. The and signs are evaluated first. So you're going to evaluate B and C first, and then apply the or expression. All right? So in the first one, it's kind of obvious. We have true or false, or true or true and true. Obviously, it's going to evaluate to true. All right? But the main thing we want to look at here is that we have that short-circuiting thing we explained earlier. And short-circuiting means that if it's true or anything, anytime you see an or true, then it's going to evaluate to true, because the very last thing, you're going to do the B and C, but it really doesn't matter what B and C are if A is true. All right? So look at this truth table, and what are the first four going to be? A is true, so true or anything, it should all be true. All right? Only in the last four do you have to actually look at B and C to figure out what the Boolean expression evaluates to. All right? And then you can go down and you can do the next one. And the last one is a real challenge. If you can get this one right, then you truly understand it. All right? Do your best to get it right, and we'll cover this in a later video. But if you can get this last one right, if you're not sure if you got the right answer, write an equation in Eclipse and apply these values to A, B, and C. See if you get the right answers.